Right, moving on to the next one, Singapore Sheng Gong culture. Players number 3, Jermaine Tai. Number 5, Zebli Yin Jia Hui. Number 6, Li Ling Ka. Number 8, Will Isabel. 15, Iris Bien. 16, Constant Frank Li Yi. 18, Ashley Cho Yi Xin. 22, Aya Between Rama Sunny. 26, Jessica Lam Chen Yi. 28, Rita Ng Chi. 4, Sharifa Natalia. 44, Rosario Haiti. 97, Zhen Li Shi Xie. Hillcrest Ang Kwong Mi. Coach Andrew Tan Chi Lee, Chief Officer Tan Dik Kok, and Coach Team Manager Ng Chu Mo. And now with the handshake, sportsmanship and friendship.
We start off with the girls under 18 placement game, which is for the third place finish, and that'll be followed by the boys. Then we get into the girls under 18 finals, and finally the boys under 18 finals. So it's all happening right here at the Singapore Basketball Centre in Al Junaid. Let's also very quickly remind you about the teams in front of me. We've got Hillcrest Greys, which will be on, well, in white and in those beautiful colors, along with that flame-like front and shades of blue, that is Adroit. We did see their under-16 team win the under-16 championship that was in the lads. So this is, of course, Adroit and Singapore Sheng Gong culture. Well, that's the affiliation. So let's get straight down to business as we launch into this match. This is the first. Well, the first period that we're in. Remember, we've got 4 in all. Looking for a way through very early. Adroit know that they can make, well, they can make it count. And that's straight through. The first one in, and it's Adroit who actually cut the cake. Or should I say, find the breakthrough. That's what you really require. So 2 points in the bag here for Adroit. And let's make that 4. Let's make that 4. Absolutely wonderful effort here from the girls in blue. So was very quickly, of course, having a chat with my buddy Leandro and about how much warm-up referees do have to put in and the effort that they have to put in to keep pace, of course, with the athletes on field. And well, having said that, I have had a view of Well, the warm-up, oh, that's a fabulous effort. Absolutely fabulous layup there. And wonderfully done by Isabella Ria. Well, sometimes you have players who can just surprise you with their skill sets, and that's exactly what happens. Isabella Ria, well, very artistic there with her layup earlier. Now here's Natalia Sharifa. Just hand it over to her teammate, Karin Than. So 6 points and a foul for the count, which means it's going to be a free throw opportunity and a very quick timeout, if you ask me. So very interesting start with, well, Adroit kicking off in a very aggressive manner here. And that's been an interesting one, because you really want to see how to make every period count. And if you can do that, you really have got, well, your eyes on the win. Keep in mind the fact that this is the third place placement match, so that really means there's a very good opportunity here for either of the ladies' teams on the court to pull off a victory. Now it's going to be Karin Than who will get the free throw. Can she extend her team's points tally? Not with this one, but she's got another shot on hand. And that's through. So it's 7 points in the bag here for Adroit. Hillcrest Grays will have to find their way through. It's a quick enough run that we saw from Yang Yifei. Will need to really craft out those opportunities. And looking for a three-pointer wasn't always going to be easy. And she's banked that all right. And you talk about, well, it's end-to-end action, and finally the Greys will get their first one. And it's sheer joy here as Celine Ung, well, pulls in the first 2 points. It's a 9-2 as it currently stands. Well, relentless in pursuit of that basket. That's what they've been, and it's the second time around that she's done it. Isabella Ria, absolutely wonderful effort. 11-2 now. And that's the key factor that we always notice when you're looking at the boys' game or the men's game. There's so much of, well, physical contact, there's so much of aggression, and it extends to even other forms of sport, but especially in a couple of sports like, well, I'd say volleyball or netball, basketball, and even floorball for that matter. You always have, well, real intensity and speed with the men, and with the ladies there's always that bit of elegance and a bit of a concentration on technical skill. They're two different forms entirely, and each of them of course have their own charm in watching them, so that's what makes it so interesting and gives it so much of variety. And cliched as it may sound, variety, as you know, it's not just the spice of life, I'd say it's a nice bit of life. So here we are, back to the action on court. It is 11-2 as Adroit, well, hold their own, and Hillcrest Grays really trying to fight back as best as they can. Let's grab rather quickly by Iris Yuan. Well, misses out on the first instance, but on the rebound, the reverse layup And Isabella Ria, she's certainly, well, charming the crowd here. Absolutely lovely performance from her. She's had, well, 3 successful efforts here. 13-2. Well, this is the odd thing about sport. When we got here in the morning, we did think that it was going to be a nice little long day. We can't believe that we're actually down to our 5th encounter of the day. And let's not forget there's 3 more to go. Time certainly flies when you're watching a sport that packs in speed and entertainment. And you kind of get lost in the course itself, enjoyably too. And that's Isabella once again. Absolutely marvelous efforts. It's 15-2 now. And you've got to credit her for 8 of those points. Isabella Ria. Well, just a narrow miss there. A 3-pointer would have been so desirable for young Celine Ng. Well, if it's not a free throw, a throw-in also desirable. I think that's been a tad bit of a worry here for the Greys. They haven't really got close. They've kept away from the lane. They've had more efforts coming in from, well, the 3-point line, and that's really, I think, turning out to be a bit of a worry, because unless you're a sure shot, you need to get in there exactly like that. Absolutely. Wonderfully done. So 15-4 for the count. And a quick reply as well. What do you say to Adroit? And what do you say to this young lady? Well, she's had 5 efforts now, Isabella Ria. Well, there's also been extremely strong support from players like Kareen Thun and Natalia Sharifa. And that's really what's made this game count for Adroit. Well, a lovely run, but before she could take flight, that's good defensive work put up here by the Greys. Well, it's 17-4, but the Greys aren't giving up. Well, talk about making a difference. And that's exactly what they need to do. So a foul is always a great opportunity. A free throw. And here's Mihika Rao. And that's a quick counter-attack. And the referees called that, much to the disappointment of, well, Adroit. Sorry, did I say that, much to the disappointment of the Greys? So a foul from end to end. And a chance here, of course, to extend that tally further. It's Iris Yuan. Well, she's missed out on 2. And pulling it away as fast as she could. That was Yong Lok Ching. It's back to Yong. Mihika Rao. You need just a tad bit of help there. Mihika Rao, well, looked like she would have come to the rescue, but that Well, that half-court press, time and again from Adroit, is not going to help the Greys in any way. Well, no takers from that hustle, but it will definitely be, well, the Greys to get the benefit of the call. So very quickly, let's remind you that the scoreline currently stands at Hillcrest Greys 6, Adroit 17. 2 minutes and 24 seconds left in the first period itself. There's still a long way to go, and there's still a lot, well, that will take place on this court between these two teams. They are spirited young ladies, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Greys can stand up, well, to that attack from Adroit. Here's Young Lock. Decent block once again by Isabel Ria. Mihika Rao draws in Young Lock. It's off to Ang Yuan. And success, well, that's what really matters. Well, young Mihika Rao delighted to be, well, right there on the court with the teammates. It's now Hillcrest Greys 9 and Adroit 17. The Greys are fighting back. And for every goal that is, of course, scored, you've got a reply there. And once again, it is Isabella Ria who's banked that shot. So just a very impressive performance from her. She's, well, knocked in 12 of those 19 points. Let's turn that around to 14 of those 21 points. Well, Mihika Rao almost lands a three-pointer, but, well, this can be a worry. Well, the odd bit, I do believe, for the Greys, of course, does lie in the fact that they've got the strongest player from Adroit up against them a couple of times. So that's wonderfully done. Absolutely smooth. So 21-11. Young Lock trying to inspire teammates to do her best along with them. Here's Kareen. And you just want to figure that when you have a player like Ria who walks up into that, well, opposition area, you want to block her off, have your best defense up against her. Well, she's had a freewheeling time, actually, with the defense just falling slightly slack against her. Well, accidental or not, but it certainly looks like there's going to be, well, an opportunity here for, well, the Greys, just waiting for the referee to call that. And the substitution as well will take place. So currently, as it stands, it still is a tall order. There's still much for the teams to come up with. Well, very interestingly, the Hillcrest Greys do have a much smaller team in terms of head count. They're a compact outfit. So that's 12 against 15, actually. So the Greys do have 12 players in the pack as compared to Adroit's 15. And a timeout, where the coaches will immediately have a quick word with their athletes. And as the age group, of course, increases, normally the scoring does as well. We did see a very high scoring game earlier when the under 16s lads battled it out for the finals. And the action will resume. Well, the referee with a quick word there to the teams. And very interesting as to how well alert the referees, or aware the referees have to be at all times when it comes to being on the court. So into the second period of play, and after that quick shot break that we had, it's been quite a heady encounter with Adroit still leading 21-11. And there might be more goals for the count in this section as well. Remember, there's always a 2-minute break between, of course, that first and second period, and then the third and the fourth. But between the second and the third period, that's the actual half of the game, where it's normally 5 minutes. In certain games in the past on an international stage, that has gone on till 15 minutes as well. But I'm all for 5 minutes. Well, just keeping the volume of games that we have. We've got a crowd as well, and you always got to tweak the rules as long as they come well within the purview, or right under everything that FIBA does. More importantly, under everything that the BAS does, and this is the contest, of course, that is run by the Basketball Association of Singapore. That's how intense and serious it really is. Oh, lovely finish. Well, did have that effort a couple of times over Celine Ung, and she'll be delighted to, well, just nail that three. So it's Hillcrest Grace 14, Adroit 21. And a lot of heart here to see the Grace fighting back. Good block there up against Zhenli Sichuan. But Adroit still managed to get one in, and it's now 14-23. Well, this is really the part where Adroit do make it count, isn't it? Every single, well, opportunity that the Grays have had, and they've just got back. That's another three-pointer, and you really require those coming as soon as possible. So the Grays really putting on a show. But Adroit, well, always comes back with the reply, and you've got to prevent that, and that's really what the Grays look to be working on. It's now in the arms of Yang Yifei. Here's Isabella Ria. Karine. Zhenli. Almost does it for Ashley Zhou. Well, that loose ball will be picked up. That was an excellent hustle, if you ask me. Smartly played by Adroit as well. But now the Grays progressing. It's off to Wang Shi. So that rebound's not going to work too well. And the Grays will have to make every shot count. But they did have a few three-pointers, but Celine Ung, well, unfortunate this time. And the substitution will take place. So Kirin taking it forward. And the referees call that. So well, no arm grabbing. Don't forget that every single foul, of course, you do keep account of it. And that's very important when you get into the later stages of the game. 5 fouls and you pretty much get the marching orders. And that's just mandatory or it's standard. Oh, that's what he calls sheer tough luck for young Wang Zishuan. Sorry, Wang Yishuan. She did well, do her best. She's been pushing as hard as she can. And that's through. Need a bit of joy there. And this time it's Lim Lek Kar who's come to the party. Well done. Just finding a bit of help there from Celine. So the Greys missing out on a few golden opportunities. And this time it's Adroit who've missed out. Doesn't happen too often. Iris Yuan. Well, just a bit off her mark with her layup. So fairly close. It's 25-19. And the Greys will have to work very hard to keep Adroit from scoring, because if they do allow them to, that just changes the entire complexity of this game and can actually change the outcome as well. So currently it's 25-19. Oh, that's just skimmed off, hasn't it? She's just having a bit of a rough day. Iris Yuan missing out on 2 opportunities consecutively. Well, truly denied by the basket. Celine finding Yonglok. It's now Don. Well, who decides to go for the shot. 4 minutes before we can hit the end of the second period here. And there's still more points in the bag. Well, almost does it for Young Lok Hong. So a timeout there, and it's going to be just a quick discussion there between the coach and his athletes. There's always a change in game plan as we progress through this event, but let's very quickly remind you that Hillcrest Greys are still on 19 while Adroit are on 25. We are heading towards the big break, which will be, of course, that halftime break. But before that, there's a lot to do, and it is the Greys who have to achieve much of it as they get back onto court. We've also got Constance Thun, who stepped in for Adroit. And a fresh pair of feet always makes for a change. Here's Constance. And Adroit just stretching their lead to another 2 points. We've also got Lim Lek Kar, who's worked really hard here through the entire, well, second period. So Lim Lek Kar providing a lot of the goals in there. You've got Isabella Ria joining her on court as well. And that free throw, well, you've got to make it count, especially when you're behind on the points. It's over to Don Juan, back again, and this time she does. So 20 right behind 27. Chance here for Constance to knock one in. It's picked up by Lim Lek Kar, but not for too long. With possession stolen by the Greys, and I do stand corrected, because we did have most of the chunk of goals that was scored by Lim Lek Kar. Well, just a tad bit tough for me to tell the numbers, but it is Lim Lek Kar who's been quite the danger person for, well, the Greys. You've also got Isabella Ria, who's been prolific in her scoring. So all said and done, well, a tough fought one here for Mahika Rao, but she does win the benefit of that call. And just a tad bit of required aggression that you need in a competitive encounter. 2 minutes 20 seconds left. The Greys are on 20, Adroit on 27, and we are heading towards, well, the halftime break. Here's Celine. It's off to Mahika. Quick pass back from Shanice. Oh, and absolutely well done. Well, that's what you really require to draw close. So 23-21. And the official, of course, calling that. That's quickly picked up by Aris Yuan. Yuan's got to figure out. She wants to drive this through or provide. She'll go on to provide and leave it to Isabella Ria to drive through. And here's the interesting bit. We always talk about officials. We've got 3 of them, of course, on court. And one of our officials, well, the thinnest, tallest one, do get a view of him. At certain moments when he does strike a post, it almost reminds you of John Travolta and Staying Alive. And I mean that as a compliment. Here's Mahika. It's picked up back again by Celine. A good opportunity here, and yes, they've nailed it. So it's 25-27. The Greys are fighting back, and they're fighting extremely strong. And that's what you really want to see in an encounter. And that is a total defensive slip-up. Massive assist and a lovely finish. So Iris Yuan gets a piece of the pie, and the Greys defense just left exposed there. So 25-29, and you need to cover those areas, especially when you've got, well, a team that is capable of, well, knocking in almost every second opportunity that they get, and that's exactly what I mean. This time around, it's Karin Tan who comes to the party, 31-25. So those 4 points coming consecutively, and this is what Adroit have been doing. They've just been staying ahead. So Hillcrest had it all to do. They were just 2 points behind, but now that gap back to 6 points. Well, as we approach the end of this period, it's interesting to see, can Celine Ang make it count? Well, she doesn't, which means that it's still Adroit who are 6 points in the lead. Here's Karine Tan. It's off to Isabella Ria, looking for that three-pointer. She won't get it. Will be picked up very quickly by Shanice. And the Greys will have a couple of seconds to make it count. Celine will get herself into position. It's off to Mihika. Mihika will miss out on nailing those 3 points, and it ends here at the end of the second period. Hillcrest Greys 25, Adroit 31. We get into the halftime break, and we will, of course, resume when the third period kicks off to find out what exactly will be the outcome of this placement match in the under-18 girls. My name is Glenn Mascarenas, and we're still coming at you live from the Singapore Basketball Centre at Alternate, and the Rigorer Youth Cup 2022 will continue. Stay with us. Let's draw you back to the action right here at the Singapore Basketball Centre as we get into our third period, or into the second half of the under-18 placement girls matchup. And this, of course, is being fought between Hillcrest Grays and Adroit. Currently, Adroit lead 31-25. Remember, with a swap in sides, it might win well, but some teams, of course, do not adapt too easily to a swap in sides. So a foul which just grants that free throw opportunity to Don One. And she's managed to make it count, which means it's now 26-31. Here's Constance. Definitely does have the height factor. She's fairly fast. She might be able to, well, just extend that tally here for her team. Well, a throw-in granted is a throw-in that could be really valuable. So that'll skim off the basket. Probably the most annoying bit when you get so close yet so far, especially when you hit the rim. Here's Yang Yifei. Well, that's certainly a good bit of passing, but it's reclaimed by Adroit. Lovely reverse layup there. And once again, it's Limlek Kaur has come to the party. Looking to create opportunities. Constance. Here's Kareen. And she's nailed one through. 35-26. So Constance Tan Huiyin also coming to the party. And Mahika just about missing out on adding another 2 to her team's tally. Well, it's really that part of this matchup when you need to be, well, just running neck and neck. We do have a change. Fresh pair of feet always help with either team. Well, Mahika just looking to make the difference here. Got strong efforts coming in from her teammates Wang Yishuan as well. So an air ball from Mahika. And that's through. It needed a finish and it's finally got one. So 28-35. The Grays staying close, but is that going to be close enough when we get down to the final moment of this game? Well, I think only time will tell that. Let's remind you once again that this is the Rigorer Youth Cup 2022. The Adroit extending their points tally to 37. And that's been the beauty of this matchup. You blink and you just miss out on a field goal. Well, sometimes one of the trickiest bits on a basketball court can be the jump shots. Not everybody, well, does excel, and it really is down to your natural skill sets. Well, I've known players who in their childhood were absolutely fantastic at jump shots, and well, that's been their forte, or they are really the ace up their sleeve. So free throw here. Down one. Well, does well to hold it together. 29-37. Can she hold a nerve for the next one? And yes, she does. So it's 30 points in the bag here for the Greys. They do need to dig deeper, because for every goal or field goal that they score, Adroit are very quick to reply. It's been, well, pretty much a pattern or routine here. And another foul. And Isabella Ria will knock in that to take that up to 38. You really want to be very careful of your violations, because that can be extremely detrimental to your team score. And Ria does well, 2 out of 2, so it's 30-39 now. Adroit still holding that 10-point lead. The Greys working as hard as they can. Mahika with another air ball. It's really been, well, strong work here, and well, just missing out on nailing the basket. Those Paithi, who's well on court. Well, she does well to hustle for that. Definitely a chance here for, well, Adroit. They've been pushing as hard as they can. It's Isabella Ria off to Kareen Than. Kareen looking for the three-pointer. Will get it off the board, but and that's a very loose pass. And you are going to be punished for it. Well, that's what will happen. Mahika just putting that in the path of Isabella Ria. And Ria misses out, but Limlek Kaur makes it 41. So this is really where you got to be so careful about those mistakes. You got to avoid those violations. And you say it time and again, one of the first things that you probably learn when you get onto a basketball court is the violations, because your violations can actually put you, well, into deep trouble as far as your teammates are concerned, because there's definitely going to be, well, payback for it, and the payback, of course, is received by the opposition team. So currently, as it stands, it's Hillcrest Greys 30, Adroit 41, 5.5 minutes left in the third period of play. So at the end of the timeout, and getting ready to, well, in a very happy position, if you ask me, and that's what I'd say that Limlek Kaur is. As she gets ready to take the free throw. That's just off the rim, so a tad bit unfortunate, but I don't think that's going to bother Adroit too much. Quick work being done here by Wang Yishuan. Celine Ong. Ong Yuen. You can't really afford to miss too many of those opportunities when you're next to the Adroit, well, goal area. You want to net as many as you can, because Adroit themselves have been fairly aggressive. And as we get into that, well, last 5 minutes, we've got a substitution. Remember, this is the third period. It's a fairly healthy score, and soon after this we get into, soon after this game, of course, it will be the boys under 18 matchup. And that's going to be interesting because we are definitely going to see a lot of an increase in, well, just intensity. The boys play fast and rough, and I mean rough legally. It's not something that's not expected. Well, we do it in all sorts of sport, including football and hockey. And the referees call that, so Hillcrest Grace will win the benefit of that shout out from the referee. And well, interesting to see if the Grace can draw closer now. It's just 11 points. But the Hillcrest Grace defense hasn't really been the tightest. They have allowed Adroit a ton of opportunities to get through, get close to their goal area. Well, good effort, but Nicole Ping, only with an air ball, wasn't able to nail that. That's just a little bit better from Celine Ung. So Hillcrest Grace 30, Adroit 41. That's still how it stands. We've got a substitution on. Was just talking about this referee a while back, and I did say that from behind. If you do take a look at his stance, it's almost like John Travolta in Staying Alive, the movie. Absolutely. But I'd be tempted to ask him whether he does like the film, and that's just a compliment, nothing to do with. Well, that's really what you need. Just a bit of leverage there from Yonglok Ching. And Isabella Ria is down. So 32-41. A throw-in granted to Nicole Ping. Isabella Ria heading up close and personal. And this time it's Iris Yuan. Well, she does get the nudge, and that definitely means it's going to be a free throw. So Iris stepping up to take it. 3 minutes 36 left on the clock. Iris Yuan. Well, does well. And it's just a ton of times that they've had so many free throw opportunities. You kind of begin to wonder. The Grays will have to be extremely careful about their movement in defense. And basketball defense, of course, is always going to be an extremely tricky area, isn't it? And even trickier for the referees to watch that. So Iris gets that through. It's now 42-32. Can she make that 43? Well, it's still 42-32. So not a worry. Three minutes and 31 seconds. Two minutes 35 left. It's still 42-32 here. And, well, very interesting to see what the Greys can come up with in this part of the encounter. Mahika drove that straight through, but unfortunately Dawn One, well, couldn't finish what she started. But a foul is always going to be, well, a blessing in disguise, isn't it? So Dawn One to take the free throw now. That almost banks that one. Well, just things just slowing down a tad bit here. Need a bit of excitement, and here you get it. Absolutely marvelous work being done here. And you don't see that too often. And a quick reply from Adroit as well. So it's now 34-44. Well, always looking at the reverse layup and the one-step layup. But we'll have seen the power layup in this very encounter being used a couple of times over. There's only one thing missing that I still want to see. Well, two actually, to be precise. One, of course, would be the slam dunk, but the most important one would happen to be the hook shot. Definitely my favorite in a game of basketball, and that's just a personal preference. Oh, lovely run through. Actually split the defense there for just a little bit, but was blocked off entirely. Lai Royin. And I do love, absolutely love the spirit of the Hillcrest Greys. Well, they have, well, lagged behind as far as the points are concerned, but they've really been giving it their all. And that's what you want to see on a basketball court. So the final seconds of play in that third period. And then a short break before we can launch into the fourth and final period of this placement game. Remember, the under-18 girls placement game will be followed by the under-18 boys placement matchup. And then, of course, we move straight into the under-18 finals, first for girls and then for the lads. And that's pretty much the countdown. So we've got into that short break. Do await the fourth period. We start off in just a little bit. Currently it stands at Hillcrest Grays 34, Adroit 44. So into the fourth and final period here as the under-18s battle it out. It's Hillcrest Grays on 34 and Adroit on 44. It's very interesting because don't forget that we do have, well, 3 more matchups coming up and they're all going to be just as exciting as this. There's 2 ways to go in a game. When you get to a final, it's either a high-scoring one or it tends to be one where the score is pretty much controlled. And this game has been pretty much that. Adroit have done extremely well to stretch their lead to 10 points ahead of Hillcrest Grays. But as you get into the final part of play, remember, the key element is can the Grays come from behind to pull off a win here, or will Adroit just continue in the same vein that they started? And they started extremely well. So it's 34-44. And as the seconds count down, keep in mind the fact that when we hit the end of the third period, there's still going to be 1 more period to go. And that's it, 34-44. So Hillcrest Grays 34, Adroit 44 is where it stands. A short break and we'll be back with you for the fourth and final period, so don't go anywhere. Back to business right here at the Singapore Basketball Centre. And don't forget, of course, we're coming at you live from lovely Algenet, and I say that because you got plenty of food around the place. Having said that, and you also got supermarkets around the place, and more importantly, well, there's a good sporting culture here. So we're down to the last, which is the fourth and final period. Hillcrest Greys are 10 points behind Adroit, who lead with 44-34. And it's very interesting to see what the outcome of this game will be. And just as we talk, it's another effort that we're looking at coming in from Limlek Kaur. She's been, well, the shining knight here for Adroit today. We'll talk about some skills and putting them on display. Young Yifei. Don't see the spin too often. Well, one of the first things that you do when you learn to play basketball, isn't it? Spin the ball on your finger. Lovely three-pointer there from Young Yifei as she draws it a little bit closer. So here we go, 37-44. And it's really about Hillcrest and whether they can keep a stall or put the pause on the scoring of Adroit. And if they can do that, they just might be able to, well, pull off a win here. Isabella Ria is down. Is that going to be a call there for obstruction? Well, it certainly looks like it, but it'll be a throw-in. And a slight sigh of relief there for the Greys. So it's been quite an event here so far. Here's Limlek Kaur. Well, Constance reaching out for it. The referee's called that, so the Greys trying to figure out why there was a foul called. And it's going to be, well, interesting to see what exactly. Well, there was so just a slight clarification there from the official to the players. Well, don't forget that. Well, the officials really have the toughest part of the job. And the toughest part of the job has to very well do with them really keeping an eye on every single movement. Well, that's straight off the backboard. But Isabella Ria will try to make amends. And I do remember in my, well, younger days in school and college when I did start, well, playing a bit of the sport. And I did play a lot of the sport back then. Learning the rules and the violations is probably one of the first things that you do, especially when you're playing competition, whether you're up against, you know, another university. I was never at the level that these young girls are. This, of course, is really in another zone altogether. And it gets even tougher as this evening progresses. But just down to school and college days, you do have to learn. It's one of the sports where you really have to be careful of those violations, and they can occur with the slightest touch. Lane violations, 3-second, 5-second violations. I've always admired basketball referees for that. Well, lovely free throw opportunity and nailed it extremely well. It's down one. Just providing a bit of joy there. 2 out of 2. And she's taken it to 39. Adroit has still on 44, and that's stolen well by the Greys. Here's Don Juan. We'll get it to Celine. Celine will get a bit of a hand from Nicole Ping. It's off to Young Yifei. Young, well, taking the shot. Could have nailed that three-pointer, would have just been even closer to, well, the leaders in this game. Now it's Zenli Sichuan, who's also, well, coming to the party, but not for too long as that's pulled away. It's a good opportunity here to have nailed one through, and yes, she does. Marvelous work being done here by Celine Ung. 41-44, and I do love that. 3 points closer. Well, can they keep an attack from Adroit at bay? Oh, that is absolutely marvelous. Absolutely marvelous effort from Zenli Sichuan. Has taken that to 47. Oh, that's a fabulous three-pointer. And while the substitution takes place, was just saying that earlier, certainly Siobhan wanted to come to the party, and she certainly has. A really fine finish there. Now that's sometimes, well, just a marvel, isn't it? When you start playing the sport, and if you can actually get that ball through without touching the rim, what a joy, what an absolute joy. But that's pretty much like the first time for everything. It kind of loses its charm a little bit later, so you get so used to it. Talk of players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or, you know, Magic Johnson, some of the biggest stars who will just get so used to it, the loose count of it, or even the more current day stars like Carmelo Anthony or Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant, with respect. So 41-47, 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Hillcrest Greys have got a task on hand. Adroit will still try and keep that lead that they have. Well, let's not forget that at the end of this placement game, we are going to get into the next part, which is very clearly the boys under 18 placement game. And then, of course, we've got the two big finals. So 41-49, and Adroit is just making sure that they stay comfortably ahead of their counterparts here. So tough times as far as, well, Hillcrest Greys are concerned. They will have to dig deep. They will have to come up with a change in their strategy on the court. It's been fairly routine so far. Yes, Mihika back in the fold. Now that is the spirited run, but unfortunately, Wang Yishuan unable to make that count. And at the other end of the court, there might just be an opportunity here for Adroit to extend their tally even further. Well, doesn't manage to get that through. Decent assist to her, but Natalia Sharifa will have to wait for another opportunity. Five minutes and 22 seconds. That's how precious the time would seem, with 8 points separating the teams on the court. And a decent block to keep Limlek Carr at bay, and this is probably what, well, I think the Greys would have had to do earlier, but it's also resulted in, well, a personal violation. So that certainly puts, well, the Greys on thin ice back again, as Adroit will try and extend their tally further here. It is Limlek Carr who will take the free throw. So that's straight off, well, the hoop and the backboard. And the second time around. No aggression there, says the referee to Natalia Sharifa. And the Hillcrest Grace coach having a quick word with them. Well, she does realize the importance of the time factor. And in an encounter like this, time is never on your side. Limleikar were really trying to make the difference here. And that's more than just a hustle. Well, more like a good old Royal Rumble. Let's also remind you very quickly that, well, the Youth Cup is an integral part of the development of the sport. It has always been. And it's been around for such a long time. So if you followed it through the years, you of course do know its importance. And there will definitely be players that will be picked out and considered for the team that represents the country or the national squad. I did see a few stars myself in the under-16s, and I'm sure that, well, that's another lovely finish there. Easy layup for Limleikar. She's had some very, very complex ones put on display today. And it's 51-41. And it's just beginning to look a tad bit difficult here. Celine Ong did provide a lot of leverage to her teammates earlier in the game. And that's an absolutely strong move from Celine. Still holding her own, so hats off to her. Iris Yuen springing a step there, and that's paid off as she makes it 53. So a timeout, and it's really going to be important to find out what exactly will happen in those last 3 minutes of play. Do stay with us here as the action continues at the Singapore Basketball Centre. So into that last 3 minutes, and this is where it really all comes down to, will the Greys be able to see the black and white here in this game? Will they be able to get the better of Adroit? There's definitely a few words that the coach would have dealt out to them and a few bits and bobs of advice, and that's what really matters as you get into this last bit of play. Don't forget that Adroit have just done enough to stay ahead, and they've stayed comfortably ahead right through the entire course of this encounter. Hillcrest Grace 41, Adroit 53 is where we stand at currently. this is what Adroit have been doing. Oh, that's an extremely super pass from Isabella Ria, and once again a lovely finish from Iris Yuan. Well, the long pass there, well, that's what you really need. You need to find yourself through. And Iris Yuan, who looked like she was beginning to tire out due to fatigue, has found, well, a new burst of energy. She's had 2 shots on goal that have really changed the entire outcome, or what will be the result of this game. Now here's Natalia Sharifa as well, getting in on the party. It's now 57-41, which means that Adroit are certainly looking like they will cap it off here with a win. 2 minutes and a little bit over left in this encounter. 16 points for the count. Will the Greys be able to catch up? Adroit now relentless in their pursuit of those goals. And this time it's Isabella Ria who decides to get one in. So 59-41, and it's turning out to be a field goal shower. Well, how tough will it be when we get into the boys under 18? Well, we'll find out in just a little bit, because the lads are warming up at the side. They've already stepped into the arena, and that's through as well. A wonderful layup from Limlek Kaur. It's now 61-41, and Adroit really putting this game out of the hands of Hillcrest Greys. Well, it's just been goal after goal, and those points have just kept multiplying. 1 minute 45 seconds left, and I did not know that Adroit had it within them to change the pace of this game like they did just now. So that's really smart. So Adroit, with Sheng Gong culture being attached to, well, the club. We've also got a few new, well, not new faces, but relaxed feet back on the court, including young Mihika Rao, who's come on with Nicole Ping. Just keeping the ball out of arm's reach from the Greys. That's what Adroit have been doing. And the Greys have been guilty of a few violations. That's really put them in a bit of an odd position. And another personal violation for, of course, grabbing would be taken into account. Kareen gets it off the backboard. Well, can she increase her team's tally? Well, not for now. It's 61-41. 20 points, but still a huge count there. The Greys have it all to do. Here's Mihika. Well, she's missed out on a few good opportunities right through the entire course of the 4 periods. And the Greys will only have themselves, well, to look at and to question later on. They have had the shots, but they haven't been able to account for the accuracy of them, and that's really a big problem when you are in a very highly competitive game. So 55 seconds left. It's still Hillcrest Greys 41, Adroit 61. And this time no way through for Jessica Lam. Straight through and off the backboard for young Shanice. Well, don't forget that we are going to get down to, well, the boys under 18, which kicks in just a little bit, and that, of course, is a placement match as well. It's been a tough fought fight from Hillcrest Greys, and they do continue Mexico are out trying to provide, well, a little bit of, well, joy and hope. But into the last few seconds, it's 43-61 as it stands. And a free throw opportunity, and they'll take it. And that's really the spirit. Well, win or lose, even with a few seconds to go, you want to play it out till the last second of the matchup. Here's Mexico. Can she make the difference? And she does. She's actually banked that shot. So it's now 45-61. And, well, if you're a fan of the sport, that's 44-61, sorry. Looking to make amends here was Nicole Ping. Well, I do believe that that's pretty much the scoreline that we might see this game end at. It's still 9 seconds left. And Adroit looking to prove me wrong. And the Greys might just have a trick up their sleeves as well. And that's pretty much it. So the end of the fourth and final period. It's been a very, very hearty game, I should say. Hillcrest Greys really putting on a show here to draw in 44 points, but it is a win for Adroit as they claim this victory, 61-44 over Hillcrest Greys, to finish off as the third best team in the girls under 18. It's been a spirited performance from them, and more power to the ladies, and congratulations to both sets of ladies on the court. The lads, of course, get into action in just a little bit. It'll be the boys under 18 placement game, so don't forget to join us for that, and that kicks off in just a little bit. My name is Glenn Mascarenas, and we are still coming at you live from the Singapore Basketball Center in Aljanay. Don't go anywhere, because we've still got 3 fantastic matchups coming up for you.